There is a proposed rule change that could affect community access television. The Federal Communications Commission is considering a change in how franchise fees are paid to towns, which could slash the budgets of community access TV stations. I spoke with Al Williams, the executive director of Northampton Community Television, and Shawn Serre, the executive director of Pittsfield Community Television, to find out more.
The proposed rule change would potentially allow cable providers who currently fund community media centers to charge back what are considered in-kind donations against the funding that currently allows those centers to operate.
Okay, explain, if you could, what they mean by in-kind donations. Those are the channels, some equipment?
Well, it's interesting because the rules that the FCC is proposing, they haven't been set in stone yet, so we don't really know exactly what they'll be deciding. They'll take back in-kind contributions. So some of those things could be the value of the INET, the institutional network that they put in place. It could be things like if they give a town hall a free cable drop or a school a free cable drop, they can deduct the value of those things that they give, or maybe it could even be the value of the channels themselves. It's a wide berth right now, and that's kind of what we're concerned about.
Explain, if you could, how your funding is set up.
Sure. So we're funded as a majority by 5% of the cable company's gross revenues in a year in the community that we're in. So Pittsfield Community Television, for example, we're funded by cable subscribers through a franchise agreement with the city of Pittsfield and the cable company. They usually do those about once every 10 years or so, and they decide that up to 5% of the gross revenue. It doesn't have to be 5%, but that's the maximum allowed by federal law. And that money comes to Pittsfield Community Television. In our case, it's Northampton Community Television in your case, and that goes to fund operations. And then there's a separate amount of money that can go to capital funding, and that's generally done, again, as a grant, as a once every 10-year amount.
Okay.
In other words, the cable companies are using public right-of-way, public land, in order to generate private revenues. And municipalities and townships are allowed by federal laws to receive compensation for those cable companies doing business and generating revenue using public land. That's what creates the funding stream, and that's the justification for the funding stream that funds our organizations.
And how would this affect you in Northampton?
I mean, as has been said, we're not exactly sure what kind of things would be affected, but potentially if channels are affected, we don't know what kind of valuation will be put on those channels. If the cable company were to say something like a channel is worth $60,000 in Northampton, and we have 3 channels, they would remove $180,000 worth of our budget, which is close to half of our budget to operate. So we would potentially face an enormous amount of changes and potentially crippling changes, particularly for other channels that are smaller channels across the country. They would be hit a little bit harder than larger channels. We have some ability to absorb the blow, but it could be certainly game-changing for us.
And how would this affect you in Pittsfield?
Well, we do a variety of things: public education and government access. Some of the things that we do are cover over 250 municipal meetings in Pittsfield every year. We have 7 full-time staff people, which is, by any television standard, very small beans. So we would have to probably cut down on what we're able to do. We work with the schools this time of the year, for example. We're covering things like a spelling bee and a battle of the books and high school graduations and middle school move-up ceremonies. These are all things that we do for the community every single year. We provide access to the public for programming. They create wonderful local programming. I guess we'd call it hyper-local, things that are specific only to Pittsfield, that Pittsfield people would care about. And we provide access to the equipment, to studio time. We cover things like the Pittsfield 4th of July parade every year. Those are the type of things that we can do with the budget that we have. And we do a certain amount of fundraising of our own also, and that's important to keeping the lights on and the doors open. But if the major source of funding were to get cut way back the way that we're sort of anticipating this could happen, that would have a devastating effect on our organization.
Now, cable subscriptions have also gone down as well. Has that affected your bottom line? It must have, of course.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing what we've really seen is slowed growth. Revenues have flatlined, and we anticipate that trend will continue in the future, that cable subscriptions will continue to go down. Most likely that's the trend. Our funding will likely go down because of that. Currently, the last time the Telecommunications Act was sort of revisited inside of Congress was in the 90s. As you can imagine, a lot has changed in telecommunications since the 1990s. And so cities and towns are not compensated currently for cable companies using those same public rights of way to deliver things like internet. So it would take an act, really Congress would have to revisit that act in order to make those communities whole and providing them compensation for use of that right of way for other services such as internet services.
And I think to dovetail off what Al was just saying too, what is most insidious about what's happening with this FCC rulemaking if it goes through is that they're really trying to reinterpret this 1984 Communications Act, which provided for the channels and the funding for public education and government access programming in the first place. So this is a regulatory agency coming back and saying, well, you know what, we're going to change the law. And that's really not sitting that well with lawmakers, and it shouldn't.
Okay. Some people might say, hey, listen, ultimately subscribers are the ones who are paying, for local community television and community media. Is this really a big deal with, all the different media options that we have in today's society? Is this really important to save?
Well, really what's happening, as Al mentioned, is that cable companies need to be paying the communities back for the use of their rights of way. When a cable company comes in many cases, it's an ultimate monopoly. There really isn't a lot of competition going on between cable companies. There certainly isn't in Pittsfield. And so that's the public's way of getting some value back for the cable company having a near monopoly to run cables above streets and under streets to use that public value. So what the public is getting back is what we provide.
And I would say there are new relevancies. I mean, as an organization, we've constantly challenged ourselves to reinvent, ourselves in light of changes in technology, changes in access. I mean, clearly there are venues online. Sure. There's affordability of equipment, and those things have changed greatly in the years. But we still provide things like physical space for people. We provide staff for people to come in and consult with and to try to make them fluent in the creation of media. There may be resources online in order for people to have access to and to teach themselves, but it's an entirely different situation when you have someone to hold your hand in learning how to create this kind of thing. I mean, yourself working in this industry, it's it's not necessarily a simple thing to put together multimedia. So we provide space, we provide staff, we provide equipment that possibly people can't afford on their own, and opportunity for people. We create a lot of experiences for people. We do a lot of work in public art where we're creating programs for people to help them achieve their sort of own vision and voice. And so it goes beyond, I think, just what's available in terms of distribution online.
And what's next in this proposal?
Well, the comment period and the reply period for the FCC are closed. So they're in what they call ex parte communication right now, which is sort of that time between when the FCC has taken comments and when they're going to decide on the rulemaking. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but we're asking people still to, if they would like to, send their comments to Commissioner Ajit Pai of the FCC and tell them that you're opposed to this because you don't want to see the types of services that we provide get lost in the fray.